Alex Martinez sat in the back row of the enormous lecture hall. He kept his eyes down, focused on his data tablet. Around him, students of a dozen different alien species chittered, hummed, and glowed with excitement. Some had tentacles. Others floated in personal atmosphere bubbles. A few were simply clouds of gas with thinking organs suspended inside. Alex looked ordinary compared to his classmates. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Plain brown hair cut short. No extra appendages, no bioluminescence, no impressive defensive adaptations, just a human. But that was exactly why he tried to blend in. "Quiet down, everyone," said Professor Ziklax as he entered the room. The tall alien moved on 6 long, spindly legs. His skin was blue-green and slightly transparent, showing the pulsing of 3 hearts within his chest cavity. 4 eyes blinked independently as he surveyed the class. The room fell silent immediately. Today was special. Even Alex felt a little excited, though he worked hard not to show it. "Today we begin our unit on Class 12 Deathworlds," announced the professor. "These are the most dangerous and hostile environments known to the Galactic Federation," a murmur went through the class. Deathworlds were legendary among the spacefaring races, planets so dangerous that most species could not survive on them. For more than a few minutes without advanced protection, we will focus specifically on Terra, categorized as Class 12 due to its extreme environmental variations, high gravity, toxic oxygen atmosphere, and the remarkable evolutionary arms race. That has produced some of the most efficient predators in the galaxy. Alex fought back a smile. Terra, Earth, his home. Professor Ziklax activated the holographic projector in the center of the room. The image of a massive creature with striped orange and black fur appeared, frozen in mid-leap, enormous teeth. "Baird, the Terran tiger," said the professor. "A perfect killing machine. Note the muscular structure, the claws, the teeth capable of crushing bones." Several students made noises of distress. A gelatinous being near the front actually changed color from a calm blue to an alarmed yellow. "Terrifying," whispered a student named Melia, who sat next to Alex. Her skin was like polished silver, and she had 4 arms that she now wrapped around herself protectively. "I can't imagine evolving on a world with such monsters." Alex just nodded and kept taking notes. The professor continued, showing more Earth predators, sharks, crocodiles, eagles, even seemingly harmless creatures like box jellyfish and poison dart frogs. "Everything on this world seems designed to kill," said a student with compound eyes like an insect. "Not designed," corrected Professor Ziklax, "evolved. That is what makes Deathworld so fascinating. The constant pressure of natural selection creates predators and prey locked in an endless competition for survival." The next image made Alex pay extra attention. It showed a simple human silhouette. "And here we have the dominant species of Terra," said the professor. "Relatively new. Members of our Galactic Federation, humans appear unimpressive at first glance. No natural weapons, no armor, no exceptional sensory abilities." The class relaxed visibly. After the parade of Earth's predators, humans seemed disappointingly ordinary. "And yet," continued the professor, his voice dropping to create suspense, "these beings not only survived but became the apex species on a Class 12 Deathworld. Tomorrow we will discuss how this was possible, and what makes humans potentially the most dangerous species in the known galaxy." The class erupted in excited discussion. Alex kept his face neutral as he gathered his things. He had lived among aliens for 3 years now, ever since Earth joined the Federation. Most of his classmates didn't know he was human. On a space station filled with exotic beings from across the galaxy, one more bipedal alien didn't stand out. "Alex, are you going to the dining hall?" asked Melia as they left class. "Not yet," he replied. "I need to do some research first." "For Professor Ziklax's class? But we just started the unit." Alex smiled. "I find Deathworlds interesting," Melia shuddered, her metallic skin rippling. "I don't understand why. Just thinking about those tigers gives me nightmares." As they walked through the station's wide corridors, Alex noticed other students from class still discussing Deathworlds. Some were pulling up additional information on their tablets, exclaiming over more of Earth's dangerous creatures. I heard humans can survive injuries that would kill most species, said one student. I heard they can run for days without stopping, said another. I heard they eat other predators for pleasure, added a third. Alex bit his lip to keep from laughing. The rumors about humans always got more extreme after these classes. Some were based on truth. Humans did have remarkable endurance and healing abilities compared to many alien species. Others were wild exaggerations. In the Academy library, Alex found a quiet corner and accessed the research database. He wasn't researching Deathworlds. He already knew more about Earth than any textbook could tell him. Instead, he was looking up information on the upcoming practical exams. Next month, all first-year xenobiology students would participate in a simulated survival challenge. Teams would be dropped into virtual environments based on different planet types. Success meant working together to survive for 3 virtual days. Alex wondered if they would include a Deathworld simulation. The thought made him smile. His classmates were terrified of Earth's predators, but he had gone camping in Montana every summer as a child. He had seen bears and mountain lions from a safe distance. He knew which plants were safe to eat and which would make you sick. "Excuse me," said a voice, interrupting his thoughts. Alex looked up to see Professor Ziklac standing over him. His heart rate increased. Had the professor somehow realized he was human? "I noticed you seem particularly engaged in today's lesson," said the professor. "Yes, sir. I find extreme environments fascinating." The professor's 4 eyes blinked. In sequence. "I'm looking for volunteers to present research on Deathworld adaptations next week. Would you be interested?" Alex hesitated only for a moment. "I would be honored, Professor." "Excellent. I'll pair you with another student. Together you can explore why creatures from harsh environments develop such remarkable survival traits." As the professor walked away, Alex couldn't help but smile. He was going to give a presentation about Deathworld monsters, when, by the Federation's own classification system, he was one himself. In the safety of the Academy, surrounded by beings from gentle worlds who had never known true danger, Alex felt like a wolf in sheep's clothing. But he wasn't here to hunt. He was here to learn, to help bridge the gap between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. Still, he couldn't help wondering how his classmates would react if they knew the truth. If they knew that one of the Deathworld monsters had been sitting quietly among them all along. The next day, Alex arrived early to the xenobiology lab. Professor Ziklac was already there, along with a small crystalline being that Alex recognized from class. "Alex, this is Neri," said the professor. "She will be your partner for the Deathworld research project." Neri's body was made of translucent blue-purple crystals that caught the light and scattered it in tiny rainbows. She had no visible face, but a cluster of smaller crystals at her top portion glowed when she spoke. "Hello," she said, her voice like wind chimes. "I must admit I am nervous about studying such terrible creatures." Professor Ziklac made a clicking sound that Alex had learned was the equivalent of a laugh for his species. "That is precisely why I paired you two. Neri comes from Lumida, one of the most peaceful worlds in the Federation. Alex seems to have a particular interest in harsh environments. I believe you will balance each other nicely." After the professor left them alone, Alex and Neri sat at a research station. The silence felt awkward. "So," Alex finally said, "what aspect of Deathworld biology interests you most?" Neri's crystals dimmed slightly. "None of it, honestly. The atmospheric composition of Terra alone would dissolve my outer matrix in minutes. The high gravity would shatter me. And those predators—" She shuddered, her entire body tinkling like glass wind chimes. Alex felt a wave of sympathy. For a being like Neri, Earth truly was a nightmare. Her homeworld probably had no predators, no extreme weather, no natural disasters. "What if we focus not just on the dangers, but on how life adapts to survive?" Alex suggested. "That's the really interesting part," Neri brightened. "That might be more bearable. Still, I cannot understand how anything survives on such a planet." Alex gave her a reassuring smile. "Evolution finds a way. even in the harshest environments. They spent the morning in the Academy's vast library archive. Alex guided their research toward the adaptability and resilience of Earth species rather than just their predatory aspects. He showed Neri images of plants that could survive forest fires, animals that could go months without water, and insects that could withstand radiation levels that would kill most other creatures. These small creatures can survive in space? Neri asked, her crystals glowing with surprise as she studied information about tardigrades. For a short time, yes, Alex said. They go into a state called cryptobiosis. They expel almost all water from their bodies and shut down their metabolism almost completely. Neri's crystal structure shifted in what Alex had learned was her version of a thoughtful expression. That is ... remarkable. On my world, life is so fragile. We exist in perfect balance. There is no need for such extreme adaptations. As they continued their research, Alex found himself enjoying Neri's perspective. She asked questions he would never think to ask, seeing Earth's ecosystems with entirely fresh eyes. You speak as though you understand these creatures, she observed after Alex explained how wolves hunt in packs. Most Federation species study Deathworlds only through remote probes. Alex tensed. I find them interesting, that's all. You are unusual among the students, Neri said. Most avoid the topic of Deathworlds entirely or treat it as a kind of horror entertainment. You see beyond the obvious dangers, Alex changed the subject quickly. Look at this comparison I found. There are remarkable similarities between Earth adaptations and those found on other harsh worlds. By the end of the day, they had compiled enough research for their presentation. Alex had carefully maintained his cover, but had managed to educate Neri about the misunderstood aspects of Deathworld species. Will you be at the zero-gravity recreation session tonight? Neri asked as they were leaving the library. I wasn't planning on it, Alex said. Most non-humans loved floating in the station's zero-gravity chamber. For many, it was the only time they could move freely without the constraints of artificial gravity. You should come, Neri's crystals pulsed with friendly colors. It might help us think more creatively about our project. Alex hesitated. He usually avoided social gatherings where his human physiology might be noticed. But Neri had been pleasant to work with, and he didn't want to seem unfriendly. Sure, he finally agreed. I'll come for a little while. The zero-gravity chamber was crowded when they arrived. Beings of all shapes and sizes floated through the air. Some were playing games with floating balls of light. Others were simply enjoying the sensation of weightlessness. Alex stayed near the entrance, watching. He had experienced zero gravity during his journey from Earth to the Academy, but he hadn't particularly enjoyed it. The feeling of having no control over his movements made him uncomfortable. Neri, on the other hand, looked more alive than Alex had ever seen her. Her crystalline body caught the light as she spun and twirled through the air. She looked like a living constellation. Come join us, she called to Alex reluctantly. Alex pushed off from the wall and floated into the chamber. Without the pull of gravity, everyone was equal. Size and strength didn't matter here. A group of students were playing a game that involved passing a glowing orb from one to another. They welcomed Alex into their circle. As he caught the orb and passed it on, Alex began to relax and enjoy himself. Then something went wrong. The lights flickered. The artificial gravity system made a grinding noise. Suddenly, gravity returned to the chamber at twice its normal strength. Students cried out in pain and surprise as they crashed to the floor. For most of the aliens, it was uncomfortable. For some of the more delicate species, it was dangerous. Alex landed hard but recovered quickly. Humans were adapted to higher gravity than most Federation species. He looked around and saw Neri lying on the floor, cracks spreading across her crystalline body. Environmental system failure, announced a mechanical voice over the speakers. Emergency protocols activated. Please remain calm. Alex rushed to Neri's side. Are you okay? Her light was flickering weakly. The pressure ... too much ... Her voice sounded distorted like broken bells. Without thinking, Alex gently lifted Even with the increased gravity, she felt light in his arms. He needed to get her to a safe place with lower gravity and the right atmospheric conditions. As he carried her toward the exit, he noticed other students staring at him with surprise. Most of them were struggling to move under the increased gravitational pull, yet he was carrying another student with apparent ease. Alex realized his mistake too late. In his concern for Neri, he had revealed strength that no ordinary Federation citizen should possess. Only a human from Earth, a Deathworld, would find it easy to function in such conditions. Alex carried Neri through the crowded hallway. All around them, students and staff struggled to move in the increased gravity. Some of the smaller aliens had to be carried by friends. Others with hover technology found their devices failing, forcing them to crawl along the floor. "We need to get to the medical bay," said a staff member who was trying to organize the chaos. "Too far," Alex replied. "Neri needs help now." The cracks in Neri's crystalline body were spreading. Her light was growing dimmer, Alex thought quickly. The maintenance closets on each level had environmental controls that could be adjusted independently from the main system. "I'm taking her to a maintenance room," he told the staff member, who was too busy to argue. Alex moved with purpose through the crowd. The extra gravity made his muscles burn, but he kept going. On Earth, he had been an average teenager. Here, among aliens adapted to gentler worlds, his ordinary human strength was remarkable. He found a maintenance closet at the end of the hallway, and kicked the door open when his hand scan wouldn't work. Inside, he gently placed Neri on the floor. "Hang on," he told her, "I'll fix this." The maintenance panel was designed for the station's robotic repair drones, not for humanoid hands. Alex fumbled with the small controls, trying to remember what he had learned in his basic station operations class. "Need help?" asked a voice from the doorway. Alex turned to see Melia, the four-armed student who sat next to him in class. She was leaning heavily against the doorframe, struggling with the gravity. "Yes," Alex said with relief. "Can you adjust environmental controls for this section?" Melia nodded and squeezed into the room. With 4 hands, she could work the controls. Much faster than Alex. "What settings do you need?" "Low gravity and ... Alex tried to remember the atmospheric composition of Neri's homeworld. "Increase silicon and oxygen content, reduce nitrogen." While Melia worked on the controls, Alex carefully examined Neri. The cracks had stopped spreading, but she was barely glowing now. "Done," Melia said. "It will take a few minutes to stabilize." Soon, Alex felt his body becoming lighter as the gravity decreased. The air took on a slight shimmer as its composition changed. "Thank you," he said to Melia. "How did you carry her all this way?" she asked. "And how are you standing so easily in this gravity?" Before Alex could answer, they heard cries for help from the hallway. More students were in trouble. "Stay with Neri," Alex told Melia. "I'll check on the others." In the hallway, the situation was getting worse. The environmental system failure had affected the entire level. Several students with environmental suits were helping others, but there weren't enough to go around. Alex saw a group of gaseous beings whose containment bubbles were failing under the pressure. Without thinking, he rushed to them and began guiding them toward the maintenance room. "This way," he said. "We've created a safe zone." More students followed. Soon, the maintenance room was crowded with a dozen different alien species, all seeking refuge from the dangerous conditions. Alex and Melia worked together to adjust the environment, creating the best compromise they could for the diverse group. Some needed more humidity, others less gravity, still others required specific atmospheric gases. "How do you know all this?" Melia asked as Alex reconfigured the controls yet again. "I pay attention in xenobiology class," he said, not meeting her eyes. Hours passed. The station's emergency systems were still not functioning properly. Alex worked tirelessly, helping injured students, adjusting the environmental settings, and even creating makeshift barriers to separate species with incompatible atmospheric needs. He used spare parts from the maintenance supplies to rig an emergency environmental shield that could be expanded as more students arrived. His hands moved with surprising skill and knowledge. "Where did you learn to do that?" asked one of the faculty members who had joined them in their safe haven. Just basic survival skills, Alex said vaguely. By the time the emergency response team finally reached their level, Alex had created a remarkably stable environment for over 20 different species. The response team members looked around in surprise at his handiwork. "This is impressive," said the team leader. "You've essentially created multiple microenvironments using only maintenance equipment." Alex was too exhausted to respond. He sat down heavily against the wall, sweat soaking his clothes. His muscles ached from hours of working in changing gravity conditions. As the emergency team began helping students to medical transport units, Neri approached Alex. Her crystalline body had partly healed, though fine cracks were still visible across her surface. "You saved my life," she said simply. Alex nodded, too tired to speak. "No one else could have carried me in that gravity," she continued. "No one else knew how to adjust the environmental controls so precisely for so many different species." Alex tensed, realizing where this conversation was heading. "How did you know how to do all this?" Neri asked, her voice soft but insistent. The room had gone quiet. The other students and staff were listening now, watching Alex with new eyes. He looked around at their faces. Some showed curiosity, others wariness, a few showed fear. They had all just witnessed him function effectively in conditions that had incapacitated most of them. Alex took a deep breath. The secret he had kept since arriving at the academy was about to end. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. These people deserved to know the truth, especially after what they had just been through together. On Terra I. "Mean Earth we learn to adapt quickly, or we don't survive," he said finally. The silence in the room deepened. Alex could almost see the thoughts connecting in their minds. "You single quotes read ... from the Deathworld?" Neri's crystals flashed with surprise. Alex nodded. "I'm human." The word hung in the air. Human. The dominant species of Terra, the creatures they had just been studying in class alongside tigers and sharks, and other deadly predators. "But humans are supposed to be dangerous," said one student, backing away slightly. "We can be," Alex admitted, "when we need to be. But mostly, we're just good at surviving, and at helping others survive, too." Melia, who had worked alongside him for hours, looked at him with new understanding. "That's why you knew exactly what to do in an emergency. Your whole planet is like one big emergency to most species." Alex smiled tiredly. "That's actually a pretty good description of Earth." "You're not what I expected," Neri said. Her crystalline body glowed with a new pattern that Alex couldn't interpret. "The lessons made humans sound so ... monstrous?" Alex suggested. "Yes," she admitted. "But you're not a monster. You saved us." Before Alex could respond, the emergency team leader approached. "We need to evacuate this level completely. The environmental systems are still unstable." As they filed out of the maintenance room, Alex noticed the other students looking at him differently. The fear was still there in some faces, but there was also curiosity, respect, and something new, recognition. The secret was out. A Deathworld monster had been sitting quietly among them all along. But now they knew the truth sometimes. What makes a species dangerous is exactly what makes them invaluable in a crisis. News spread quickly through the academy. By the next morning, everyone knew that Alex Martinez was human. From the Deathworld Terra, as he walked to his first class, he noticed other students moving out of his way. Some looked afraid. Others stared with open curiosity. "Is it true you can lift 3 times your body weight?" asked a small reptilian student who had been brave enough to approach him. "No," Alex said with a sigh. "That's not true. I'm just a normal human." But normal human had a very different meaning to the rest of the academy. To them, even an average person from Earth possessed abilities that seemed extraordinary. When Alex entered the xenobiology classroom, the usual chatter died down. Professor Ziklax was already there, all 4 eyes fixed on Alex. "Mr. Martinez," said the professor, "I believe we need to have a discussion about your enrollment paperwork." Alex nodded. He had known this was coming when he applied to the Academy, he hadn't exactly lied about being human, but he hadn't made it obvious either. After class, please, the professor added, then turned to address the room. Today's lesson will continue our study of Deathworld adaptations. But first, I think we have a unique opportunity for some first-hand information. All eyes turned to Alex. Would you be willing to answer some questions about your homeworld, Mr. Martinez? Asked Professor Ziklax. Alex hesitated, then nodded. Yes, sir. For the next hour, Alex found himself the subject of the lesson rather than a student. His classmates asked dozens of questions, some scientific, others simply curious. Is it true humans can regrow limbs? Asked one student. No, Alex laughed. We can heal from many injuries, but we can't regrow body parts. Do humans really eat other predators? Asked another. Sometimes. We eat many different animals, but we cook them first. How do you survive the constant predator attacks? This question made Alex smile. We don't have to fight off tigers every day. Most dangerous animals avoid humans. In fact, many of Earth's predators are endangered because humans have taken over so much territory. The questions continued until Professor Ziklax finally raised a hand to stop them. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. This has been most educational. Now, let us return to our scheduled curriculum. But the curriculum had changed. Instead of focusing only on the dangers of Deathworlds, the professor began to discuss the benefits of evolving in a challenging environment. Species from harsh worlds often develop remarkable problem-solving abilities, resilience and adaptability, he explained, glancing at Alex. These traits can be more valuable than physical strength or natural weapons. After class, Alex stayed behind as instructed. He expected to be punished, maybe even expelled for not being completely honest about his origins. Sir, I want to apologize, he began, but the professor stopped him. No apology needed, Mr. Martinez. Your species is still new to the Federation. There are many misunderstandings on both sides. You're not angry? Alex asked, surprised. Quite the opposite, said Professor Ziklax. You have provided us with a valuable learning opportunity, which is why I want to ask you a favor. The professor explained that the Academy's administration was calling an emergency assembly to address the situation. Many students and faculty members were nervous about having a dangerous species among them. They want me to leave, Alex guessed. Some do, admitted the professor. But I have proposed an alternative. Would you be willing to speak at the assembly? To help everyone understand what it truly means to be human? Alex thought about it. The idea of speaking in front of the entire academy made him nervous. But if he didn't, other humans might be prevented from attending in the future. I'll do it, he said finally. The assembly was scheduled for that afternoon. The main lecture hall was filled to capacity. Alex sat on the stage, trying not to fidget as the academy director, a tall ethereal being made of swirling gas, addressed the crowd. We have called this assembly to discuss the recent revelation that we have a Deathworld human among our student body, the director began. This situation has caused concern among some students and faculty. Alex's heart sank as murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Before we make any decisions, continued the director, Professor Ziklax has requested that we hear from the student in question. The professor stepped forward. It has come to my attention that we have been studying Deathworld species while hosting one in our midst. But rather than see this as a problem, I suggest we view it as an unprecedented opportunity to learn. Professor Ziklax turned to Alex. Would you please share your perspective with us, Mr. Martinez? Alex stood up and walked to the center of the stage. His legs felt shaky, but he took a deep breath and began to speak. I am human, from Earth, what you call Terra, he confirmed. We're not the monsters you think we are. From the front row, Neri floated forward. Her crystalline body still showed cracks from her near-death experience. This human saved my life and others, she announced to the room. While we feared theoretical monsters, we failed to see the true nature of adaptability. Deathworld species don't just evolve to kill, they evolve to survive and protect their communities. Melia stood up next. I worked with him during the crisis. He knew exactly how to help different species with different needs. That knowledge comes from living on a planet with extreme environmental diversity. One by one, other students who had been in the maintenance room during the emergency spoke up. They described how Alex had worked tirelessly to save everyone, using skills that came directly from his Deathworld upbringing. The mood in the room began to shift. The fear was being replaced by curiosity and even respect. Humans aren't particularly strong or fast compared to many species, Alex explained. We don't have natural weapons or armor. We survived on Earth through cooperation, tool use, and adaptability. He looked around the room. The same traits that let us survive on a death world are what allowed me to help during the emergency. We're good at solving problems and working under pressure because our planet never gave us a choice. Professor Ziklax nodded thoughtfully. It seems our curriculum has been incomplete. Perhaps we focused too much on the predatory aspects of Deathworld evolution and not enough on the cooperation, altruism, and problem-solving that equally contribute to survival. The professor turned to Alex. Would you be willing to help us revise our understanding? Before Alex could answer, the Academy director interrupted. This is highly irregular. Our xenobiology curriculum has been standardized across the Federation for decades. And perhaps it's time for an update, suggested Professor Ziklax. After all, science is about continuously improving our understanding, is it not? The director's gaseous form swirled in what seemed to be agitation. Then slowly, it settled. Very well. We will allow the human to remain at the Academy. And we will consider revisions to the curriculum. As the assembly ended, students gathered around Alex, no longer keeping their distance. They had more questions now, but different ones. They wanted to know about human cooperation, about how Earth's diverse environments had shaped human problem-solving, about the positive aspects of evolution on a challenging world. For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Alex felt he could truly be himself. Not a monster hiding among peaceful beings, but a valuable member of the community with unique perspectives to share. The Deathworld monster had found his place among the stars. 1 month later, Alex stood at the front of the xenobiology classroom. It felt strange to be on the other side of the room, not as a student but as a teaching assistant. Professor Ziklax stood beside him, all 4 eyes blinking with excitement. Today marks the beginning of our revised Deathworld curriculum, the professor announced to the class. And who better to help us understand the true nature of life on such worlds than someone who has actually lived there? The classroom was more crowded than usual. Word had spread about the human who was co-teaching, and students from other classes had come to listen. Among them, Alex spotted several new human students who had enrolled after hearing about his experience. Deathworld adaptation isn't just about being the most dangerous predator. Alex began feeling more confident than he ever had before. It's about versatility, cooperation, and innovation. He activated the holographic display. Instead of showing fierce predators, he showed images of humans throughout history working together to build shelters, developing medicine, creating art, exploring their world. Humans aren't particularly strong, fast, or well-armored compared to many species, Alex explained. We can't breathe underwater like some of you, we can't fly like others, and we certainly can't survive in the vacuum of space like a few of you can. The students watched with interest. This was a very different lesson than what they had heard before about Deathworlds. So how did we become the dominant species on Earth? By working together, using tools, and adapting our environment when we couldn't adapt ourselves. For the next hour, Alex and Professor Ziklax presented a completely new view of Deathworld evolution. They showed how harsh conditions could produce not just physical adaptations, but social and behavioral ones as well. On Earth, we have a saying, Alex told the class. Necessity is the mother of invention. When survival is difficult, species either adapt or they don't survive. But adaptation doesn't always mean bigger teeth or stronger muscles. Neri, who had become Alex's friend and research partner, added her perspective from the front row. The Federation has long categorized worlds by their danger level, but perhaps we should also classify them by the unique strengths their inhabitants develop. Professor Ziklax nodded in agreement. This is exactly the kind of thinking we need to update our understanding. Deathworld species aren't just monsters, they're survivors with much to teach us. After class, a group of students stayed to ask more questions. Among them was a small Arcturian student with iridescent scales. I was raised to fear Deathworlders, the student admitted to Alex. But now I wonder what other misconceptions I've been taught. Alex smiled. That's the most important lesson of all. Question your assumptions and be willing to learn. In the harshest environments, it's often the most unexpected adaptations that ensure survival. Later that day, Alex met with the academy director. The gaseous being seemed less agitated than at the assembly a month ago. Your presentation was enlightening, the director admitted. The Federation Council has requested a full report on your revised curriculum. They are considering implementing similar changes at other academies. Really? Alex couldn't hide his surprise. Indeed. With more human worlds joining the Federation, there is growing interest in understanding your species better. The director's form swirled thoughtfully. Though I must ask, why did you choose to attend our academy in the first place? Surely there were institutions closer to your homeworld. Alex thought about it. I wanted to see the galaxy to learn about other species, but I was afraid of how I would be received if everyone knew where I was from. Earth only joined the Federation 3 years ago. There are still a lot of stereotypes about humans. And? Now? Asked the director. Now I think hiding was a mistake. How can we break down those stereotypes if we don't show who we really are? The next week brought even more changes. 5 new human students transferred to the academy. Unlike Alex, they made no attempt to hide their origins. They spoke openly about Earth, answered questions from curious aliens, and shared their unique perspectives in classes. The Academy's administration also announced a new exchange program. Students from non-Deathworld planets would have the opportunity to visit Earth under carefully controlled conditions, and more humans would be encouraged to study at Federation institutions. Alex helped design safety protocols for the Earth visits. He worked with Neri and other non-human students to create environmental suits that would protect them from Earth's gravity, atmosphere, and other hazards. Do you really think I could visit your planet someday? Neri asked as they worked on the suit designs. With the right protection, yes, Alex assured her. You'd need to stay in controlled environments, but you could see some of what makes Earth special. I'd like that. Her crystals glowed warmly. I never thought I would say this, but I'm actually excited to see a Deathworld. On the day the first exchange program was announced, Alex sat in his room looking at a photo of his family back on Earth. He remembered how nervous he had been when he first arrived at the academy, how careful he had been to hide his human traits. Now, everything had changed. What began as an emergency had become an opportunity not just for him, but for all humans and Federation species to better understand each other. His computer terminal chimed with an incoming message. It was from Earth's ambassador to the Federation. The message was brief but significant. The Federation Council has voted to revise the classification system for member worlds. Terra will still be recognized as a Class 12 environment, but the term Deathworld is being replaced with High Adaptation World in all official documentation. Alex smiled. It was a small change, but an important one. Instead of defining Earth by its dangers, the Federation would now recognize it for the adaptive qualities it instilled in its inhabitants. There was a knock at his door. Neri, Melia, and several other students were waiting outside. We're having a celebration in the recreation hall, Melia told him. The director approved a special event to mark the new exchange program. As Alex walked with his friends to the celebration, he passed the xenobiology classroom. Through the open door, he could see Professor Ziklax updating the holographic display. The image of a snarling tiger was being replaced with a new series of images showing Earth's diverse ecosystems and the humans who had learned to thrive in them. The lesson was no longer about Deathworld monsters. It was about adaptation, cooperation, and understanding across the stars. And Alex, once the hidden monster in the classroom, had helped make that change possible. As he joined the celebration with friends from a dozen different worlds, Alex knew that this was just the beginning. There was so much more for all of them to learn from each other, and that, perhaps, was the greatest lesson of all.